As if we didn't have enough bad things to be upset about in 2021, I have five movies that I personally hated from the year 2021. These were all absolute shit. Starting the list at number five, Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. I think that was the first mistake. Just the title, G.I. Joe Origins. Remember the last franchise that tried to do origin type stories about a certain character? X-Men Origins, Wolverine, anyone? But this movie, we had Henry Golding, who is a good actor, and I think snatching him up to be the main character of a particular franchise just made the most sense. But this was not it. This was not the project. Fire your agent now, Henry Golding. He was completely wasted. His character was written to be a little boring, not that interesting. The relationship established between him and Storm Shadow, it starts out pretty good. The way how they had to manufacture them splitting up, them hating each other, was so forced, so contrived, and you can tell only happened as fast as it did because they felt like they had to. The end of this movie is so slapped together, so thrown together to try to set certain other films up that it's pathetic. And how about this? So many of the trailers and marketing advertised this one particular scene where Harry Golding puts on the classic Snake Eyes helmet, mask, costume, whatever you want to call it. And they showed it so much to try to entice fans to say, see, he is going to look like Snake Eyes. He is going to have that look. But the problem is that it's the very last shot of the movie. And so if that doesn't piss you off enough that we don't get to see him as Snake Eyes fully formed until the very end, and I'm talking about the last shot, they already revealed said last shot in the trailers. So you're not seeing anything new that you haven't already seen before if you actually did go see this movie. I don't blame you if you didn't. Coming in at number four, Clifford, the Big Red Dog. Now, I feel a little bad about putting this movie on the list because it's a family film, it's a kid's film, but that doesn't give it the excuse of having such horrible writing the way that it does. Just because a movie is a kid's film, just because it's a family film, does not equal dumb movie, does not equal nothing in this film has to make sense at all. When I grew up on kids' films, the plots still at least made somewhat sense. You have the terrible CGI dog, which I guess they just didn't want to take a real dog and color him red for whatever reason. But the animation is terrible. It never once looks like a real dog on screen. I'm not talking about when the dog is giant, because yeah, I guess you have to use CGI. Although, Honey, I Blew Up the Baby was able to use a real baby and just made him bigger. And that looked real. The main girl, Emily, is likable, but her uncle Casey is annoying. He's not funny. I know he's an actor that's been in other comedic-like things. Maybe he read this script and he knew that this was going to be shit. So he figured, why bother? At the end of the film, this was the dumbest thing when I talk about the plot not making sense, when I talk about it not being realistic. More unrealistic than a dog being this big is the fact that everybody who, even the police of New York City, wanted this dog captured because, let's be honest, he is a danger. The fact that they just decide to change their mind because the girl makes a speech is the dumbest ending that I think they could try to get across. What are you teaching kids? At number three, Reminiscence. This is on the list because I barely remember this film, and I almost want to praise it for being this forgettable. The fact that they had Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, just so many people that I'm like, man, this is A-list, top-tier caliber actors. And what? You have this technology where you're able to access memories, and it sounds interesting, sounds a little bit like Inception, but the whole movie isn't about that. No, it's about Hugh Jackman being obsessed with Rebecca Ferguson. He dated her for 4 weeks maybe, and then she disappears. So he spends this whole movie trying to find out what happened to her, where she is. You have characters who are telling him that you couldn't trust Rebecca Ferguson, that she has a shady past, and that she didn't really love you. And so the whole time, Hugh Jackman is just coming off looking pathetic, being this obsessed and in love with a woman who was lying to him the whole time, only to find out near the end that she actually did love him and that she was killed. So it's like, well, okay, most of this movie, I was under the impression that you couldn't trust her. So it made me not like Hugh Jackman and his decisions throughout the whole thing. But now you have Hugh Jackman with this information. It's just, well, I guess I'm just going to spend the rest of my life not moving on, not learning from this, not trying to do anything better with my life or anybody else's life. No, he decides to spend the rest of his life in this memory machine for, I'm talking the rest of his life, till he's an old man, relives those 4 weeks that he spends with her. And that's how the movie ends. What the fuck? What was the point of any of this bullshit? Number 2, Space Jam 2, A New Legacy. There's so many things wrong with this movie. Do I have enough time to get into it? LeBron James obviously can't act. The movie even makes fun of the fact that he can't act and that basketball players can't act. Yeah, let's point that out. Let's make that front and center. It's very cringy to watch. He makes Michael Jordan look like an Oscar-winning actor. You have some fun during the moments when they're looking for all of the other Looney Tunes characters, because you're going to the different Warner Brothers universes, mostly the DC stuff that I found amusing. But then you had some other movie references that I thought were forced as hell, like The Matrix, and just certain things that I'm like, not only is this hard to watch, but it's not funny, it's not relevant, and it just felt like a big, huge HBO Max promotion commercial. I don't need a movie that's over 2 hours. This movie is longer than the original Space Jam. How dare you? At least the first Space Jam, whether you think this movie's better or not, writing-wise, production-wise, at least the first movie knew how to get in and get out an hour and a half. This movie dared to be over 2 hours. Don Cheadle as Al G. Rhythm. Need I go on for why that was a terrible choice, a terrible decision for this man's career? He's way better than to be in some bullshit, over-the-top, dumb computer character that he was. And also, how about that last basketball game? I couldn't help but be insanely distracted by the hundreds of thousands of cosplayers out there in the audience. And it'd be different if they actually spent the money, because clearly they had a budget. Clearly they had the money if they wanted to. But if they spent the money to make all of these characters actually look like the live action Batmans, Mr. Freeze, and various different people that they were supposed to be from their respective movies, it might actually be impressive. It might actually be something worthwhile. But when you take a closer look and you see that, no, it's just a bunch of extras in cosplays, it makes you wonder, well, what the hell is going on here? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? At number 1, though, for what I feel like is the worst movie of 2021, man, oh man, this Home Sweet Home Alone bullshit still pisses me off for so many reasons. The main kid, the main young actor, Archie Yates, is terrible. He's terrible. He's a bad actor, although I hear that he's okay in Jojo Rabbit. All I can go off of is how bad he was here. And it's more so to his character being so poorly written. The fact that he's unlikable from first scene, when he's being an asshole to his mother. When you go most of this movie assuming and thinking that he stole this doll item that the main characters are looking for, how is this kid supposed to be relatable? How is this kid supposed to have any compassion from us to care if anything actually does happen to him? Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney, once again, 2 comedic actors who I think are really good and funny in general, but I just felt not only bad for them as actors being in this horrible, horrible mess, but their characters being people who just can't afford to keep their dream house, who just can't afford to raise their family in this house because they're struggling with money, and being able to sell these dolls would be the one thing to keep them afloat. It's like, what? And these guys were supposed to be laughing at this couple when bad stuff happens to them, when this kid messes with them, bringing in Buzz from the original film and mentioning Kevin McAllister was just so painfully pathetic, more so because you know that Macaulay Culkin just ignored his phone call during the whole production of this movie. And I know that this isn't a remake. I know that they're trying to play this off like it's a continuation of the franchise, a true sequel. But no, this is a remake in the worst way possible because it's just a lamer, lesser than version of that original classic that still holds up to this day. And what's funny is that this being on Disney Plus, when this movie ends, they have the nerve to take you to the menu to play and watch the original film. It just makes you think, why would I ever watch this Home Sweet Home Alone movie at all when I can just switch over and watch the original? This film sucks. A lot of these movies suck. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below not only what you think of my list for worst movies of the year, what are some of your films? Did I miss a movie that you think was shit? Hit that notification bell for more lists that are coming. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.